All right, everybody, quick clip. I'll try to maybe stitch this together with a few others, but NC Miata V8 Roadsters mounting kit. This video will primarily just be talking about the mounting the engine subframe. I'll do a different thing about the transmission crossmember. First things first, the thing to know is that these subframe bores are significantly bigger than the bolts. Bolts are 14 millimeter, these studs. Fortunately, this one is kind of long, so it does help locate it, but there is quite a bit of room to kind of walk it around. My recommendation when you are setting the engine in the car is to use like a ratchet strap, hook it to your engine hoist in front of the car, and just pull the subframe as far forward as you can with the engines mounted, so it gives you as much firewall clearance as you can get. On that note, I also recommend doing something like this, where you make like this is a little Menards wooden dollies that I've just added material with 2x4s to and stuff to get the height where I want it and things like that. I have the whole engine mounted to the subframe loosely. The bolts are through it, the nuts aren't on, but mounted to the subframe out of the car, because getting that bolt to align through that pin bore in the car, if the angle's off at all, the bolt doesn't want to line up. It's a very tight fit around the pin bore. In my opinion, it's way easier. Put the subframe on the engine, roll the whole thing under the car, and then pick the whole engine and subframe combination up into the car. Now, if you guys are familiar with the NA and the NB swaps, on those cars, they kind of have like a little top sheet metal arch that you cut out so that the firewall and the frame rail is a 90-degree. On this car, you don't have that because this has this like pocket thing from the factory. One thing you do have to be considerate of, and you can see it right here versus right here, you do need to bash this in a little bit to get clearance for the back corner of the cylinder head. You can see where before I did that, some of the paint was flaking off, but it rubs right here. The other thing you have to be cognizant of, you can see I already have the number 8 plug and plug wire in, is it is very tight, the number 8 plug and plug wire. It's like all the way back here. So as you can see, this has this big lip where the top piece and the bottom piece are spot welded together. Well, in my case, I've decided to cut that off on the front on both sides to give myself more room width-wise for a radiator. But I also chose to do that back here. And the paint's not beautiful because the paint underneath wasn't beautiful. But basically cut that back as far as you could possibly cut it on that corner, to where it's basically all the way where that top piece and bottom piece meet, and there would otherwise be a gap. And then I just used small stitch welds to stitch it back up and repainted it. The reason I did that is so when you look at it this way, I'll give you guys a good look this way of how much I cut. You can compare that to your car. Gives you the best chance of trying to be able to get that spark plug in and out while the engine's installed. I am going to try per V8 Roadsters and a few others recommendations. Rather than a factory style plug wire, I'm going to try a 45-degree boot and a 90-degree boot at the plug end, at least on this cylinder, to try to help the plug wire come out and go up as quick as I can, so it doesn't back into the frame rail over there. So yeah, just wanted to make this video quick. There's tons of stuff on the NA and NB cars about what you need to cut, modify, and make room for and all that stuff. There's basically nothing for the NC cars. So to recap, in my opinion, mount the motor to the subframe. Again, you can put the bolts through and leave the nuts loose, so all this has room to play as you go up with it, not a problem. But it's way easier to put it in like that. Bash this corner in right here, trim out as much as you can on this frame rail lip out of this corner. That'll get your engine fitted up in there, get you enough clearance back there, get you as much clearance as you can for that plug. And I guess the only other thing to note is the motor mount orientation. So just like the NA and NBs, if you flip these mounts right now, they're configured in the motor as far back possible position. If you were to have them backwards, the motor would move forward like an inch or two. That is not how they designed them to be. V8 Roadsters wants them this way, with the motor as far back as it can go with the given two options. So motor mounts like this, bolts loosely in there. You can see the things aren't even really tight. Roll the whole thing underneath, jack the whole operation up, hit your big long studs, suck it up to the car, run your nuts on to hold it on. And like I said, I'll make something different on the trans mount here in a little while. So appreciate watching. Just wanted to have something out there for those guys working on this as well. Appreciate your time. Thanks.